All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. I believe we're live. It was saying there was a technical glitch, and then all of a sudden it said, you're live. So I hope that's the case. And what I want to talk about is what was in the news the other day. I missed this. Simmons says anyone willing to walk among us unvaccinated is an enemy. And this is just so perfect when you have the knowledge that we do. You can just fully understand why on November 11th, on 11/11, we got this headline about Gene Simmons, a member of KISS, which stands for Knights in Satan's Service, why it came on this day. And before we get into it, if you've never seen the movie Rosemary's Baby, very interesting movie for several reasons. But it's about somebody in the entertainment world. To get into that world, he has to sell his soul to Satan, and what he has to do is allow Satan to rape his wife and impregnate his wife, and that's who Rosemary's Baby becomes. And if you've seen the movie, it's full of 11. Anytime they're meeting, calling each other 11, 11, 11, 11, 11. In numerology, 11 has a relationship with Satan. And the word beast in Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, equals 11. The number of the beast, Satan, all these things are related. But let's look at how perfect this is. Everything from Gene Simmons' birthday to the day this ritual was done. And by having the knowledge that we have, we'll know who really done it, who controls the puppet strings on Gene Simmons, who on 11/11 said if you're unvaccinated, you're of the enemy. And you should know that on May 15th, 2018, which was exactly 666 days before March 11th, there was a simulation called CLADEX, pandemic simulation. It was done by the same people who did Event 201, the coronavirus pandemic simulation, which in part was the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who we'll talk about. Hold on, you guys, one second. I have tinnitus in my right ear. I've had it since January 2006. My ear has always rung. And what's wild is it just made this crazy pitch that I haven't heard in years. When I first got tinnitus, it did that a lot more. My ear, like sometimes, I'm just used to the constant noises there, but sometimes it does this like higher pitch thing, which is doing a little bit of right now. So hold on. But I think in all the videos I made, this is the first time where I ever complained about my tinnitus live. Because it doesn't happen very much anymore. But when I first got tinnitus back in the day, man, it was annoying. Okay. So, this ritual, everything from his birthday to the day it was done, there's a lot more than just the 11/11 thing. There's a lot. And we're going to connect this perfectly with Bill Gates, who's another leading face of the vaccination agenda, which is a big 666 agenda. And here, we'll bring it all together. But Gene Simmons, the leader of Knights in Satan's Service, better known as KISS, if you're new here, I have a book. You know, Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus. It's even on that website named after a river. And you don't have to buy it from there if you're interested in it. I made it free to download as an ebook, but you can read the reviews on there. There's nearly 500 reviews. You know, the book's been well read and well reviewed. But the number I make the biggest point about with the ongoing pandemic and the connection to 9/11 is 56. And when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, like Aleister Crowley taught us, who so many of these rock stars studied from, Aleister Crowley said do everything forwards and backwards. And he wrote a lot about gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. But Gene Simmons in reverse is 56. Just like how Gavin Newsom in reverse is 56. The first governor to lock down his state and said 56% of California will get coronavirus in 8 weeks, which is 56 days. But again, there's been 1,056 rituals in the time of coronavirus. I mean, had my channels not been taken down, I'd assume that there'd be at least 300, if not more, videos on 56 and coronavirus in the time of the pandemic. There'd probably be more. But here's the latest example. Gene Simmons, 56. When you run the alphabetic order forwards, coronavirus, COVID vaccine, both Church of Satan and Society of Jesus are 56. On that same list that should be up there, Anthony Fauci, Paris, France, where the Jesuits are from, Washington, D.C., where their stronghold is, and a million more things. And one of the big stories with Gene Simmons calling everyone the enemy is he's also going after Aaron Rodgers, who on the day leaving 56 days left in the year, November 5th, became the controversy because he wasn't vaccinated, and he had alluded earlier this year that he was. And again, just so many 56 rituals. And now you have Mr. 56 versus Mr. Rogers, who, again, the controversy began on the day leaving 56 days left in the year. And that was also the week of the vaccine being approved for 11 to 5-year-olds, which is interesting because 11 is the fifth prime number. 5 is related with Satan, the 5-pointed pentagram. We'll talk more about that. But if you add the ages 11 through 5 together, it adds up to 56. 11 plus 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5, 56. And again, knowing it's all numerology, they said the CDC approved it in a meeting that lasted from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., and the nation should have access to it from all corners by the end of the week, which was November 5th. The day of the concert, there was a big satanic ritual with an upside-down cross as the stage, where they said people were getting poked and dropping to the ground. Some died, some needed CPR. But anyway, another 56. With regards to the gematria of the band's name, Knights in Satan's Service, or KISS, that equals 266, like the Jesuit motto. Again, the Society of Jesus is absolutely responsible for the Church of Satan. If you don't know the history of the Jesuits, they were to counter the 95 Theses, which we'll talk more about in a moment, which was pinned on Halloween in history, October 31st, 1517. And Halloween in Gematria is 95. But the Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses against the Catholic Church, which talked about how what the Catholic Church was doing was putting sin and temptation in communities purposefully, so that, for example, people would go out to the brothel for the weekend, pay to have sex, which is a sin in the Bible, and then they'd be back in church paying their indulgence to make up for their sin. So the more sin there was in the community, the more profit there was to be made off indulgences and people just coming to church and putting money in the plate altogether. So the 95 Theses was exposing the evil and corruption of the Catholic Church, encouraging sin to make money off sin. And I just want you to think about that with regards to Knights in Satan's Service equaling 95, encouraging what's satanic behavior in Christianity, to, on the other hand, benefit the Christian side of it. And with regards to Knights in Satan's Service equaling 266 and 95, remember the Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator, that's the IHS in their logo. This is the Jesuit logo, or the Society of Jesus. Same organization. 2 names that they're recognized by. But their motto is 266, and the first Jesuit pope is Pope Francis. We're living in the time of the first, at least publicly, Jesuit pope on the church record for the masses. Pope Francis, who's the 266th pope, and when he spoke in Washington, D.C., where the Jesuits have been longer than the federal government, that was September 23rd, 2015, the 266th day of the year. And there's a whole lot more about that date, but just 266, big number with the Jesuits, as is 95. What do you know? This coronavirus pandemic, which, by the way, in my book I say is a completely Jesuit agenda, and you can see through every inch of it when you have this knowledge, where we talk about rituals with 266 and 95 and 56 all throughout it. But what do you know? These numbers are in the name of Knights in Satan's Service. And we're going to get to what's encoded in this headline. Willing to walk among us unvaccinated as an enemy. We'll get to how that pays tribute to Number of the Beast. Anytime the media emphasizes a phrase, it's so clear. But notice, when you write out Knights in Satan's Service, it's 95, like 666 is 95, like the Bavarian Illuminati is 95, which was created May 1st, 1776, by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. Again, just before the American Revolution, the Bavarian Illuminati was established by a Jesuit who were created to counter the 95 Theses. And magically, in this language, and just to show you how perfect it is, that same cipher, which I learned from Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. What he teaches in there, I'll just write it out. He teaches 2 ciphers in his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. The alphabetic order, A is 1 up to Z is 26, and the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. But Adam Weishaupt created the Bavarian Illuminati on May 1st, 5-1, right? Rome also has this gematria 51. Jesuits are agents of Rome, but notice Adam Weishaupt 51, like May 1st, and Rome is 51. And I think if you run the alphabetic order in reverse numerology, even May Day is 51. Or I'm forgetting, it's something. There's something about the May Day holiday, because May Day is May 1st, that has to do with that. Well, by the way, May Day is related to communism. You see or maybe that's what it is. Communism's 51, but you see the 120? Look at Illuminati, right? Illuminati. May Day, communism, what's going on in the time of COVID. Essentially, communism is a nice, rosy concept. It's like a utopia. It sounds so nice, but the way it's executed in this world, and it's not to say that maybe someday it couldn't be done right and the world would be in harmony, but the way it's executed in the world has not been pretty for anybody. And since everything we've always been told in America about what communism looks like, where there's nonstop propaganda and fear and big government control over your life, a lot less liberty. I mean, just think about that in the time of the pandemic. Who's the face of it, of course, is Anthony Fauci. And as we get to, Anthony Fauci's Mr. 56 and Mr. 95. But think about this. 95 connects to 666, the Bavarian Illuminati, Knights in Satan's service. The word pentagram, a downwards pointing pentagram, is a symbol related with Satanism. If it's pointing upwards, it's not. Then it's a spiritual symbol, spiritual uplift, ascension. It has all these. A lot of people see a pentagram and think it's all evil. If it's pointing down, that's when it takes on the satanic meaning. And there could be somebody in the world, who might not know that and like the pentagram and have it downwards pointing and not know what they've done, but typically a downwards pointing pentagram is a satanic symbol. Pentagram has gematria of 95. And as we'll get to, the name Fauci is also 95, since we're talking about COVID and how this fits in with what Gene Simmons said about the unvaccinated. But look at this. From May 15th, 2018, which was the day Clade X was done, to March 11th, 2020, the day the pandemic was declared, is 666 days. And notice, 666 days is 95 weeks in one day. In my first book, I point out that relationship with the gematria of number of the beast, how it's 95 weeks in a day, and that's 666 days. And in my book, I say it's the Jesuits behind all this because they're the only ones with the capability. Because again, you guys got to think, we're on a calendar named after a pope, and the oldest English script is credited to a Catholic monk from the year 1000 AD. And the Jesuits, again, recognized in the 16th century. And then, at the end of that century, we get English with the spellings and 26-letter alphabet we use today, standardized. And we get the Gregorian calendar named after the Pope. And all these rituals and the language, it's all so perfectly synced up. But there's clearly a relationship, not only through the gematria, but just through the calendar, right? And all of this is Catholic. The Jesuits serve the Catholic Church. Okay, Sumerian gematria, where you take the alphabetic order and multiply times 6. A is 6, B is 12, C is 18, D is 24, E is 30, F is 36, so on. Vaccination and mandatory are both 666. In the Clade X simulation, they rush out vaccines that do more damage to the populace. You can watch the Clade X simulation and see that for yourself. And again, the same people who did Clade X did Event 201 October 18th, 2019, which was the same day the Military World Games began in Wuhan, China. What a coincidence. And then the first Military World Games was in 95 in Rome, and they were credited to the Jesuit order, who were created to counter the 95 Theses. But vaccination mandatory when you multiply the alphabetic order times 6. Rockstar and concert both 666 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse and multiply times 6. And what's interesting is the alphabetic order forwards times 6, computer equals 666. And when you run it in reverse times 6, internet is 666. Apple priced their first consumer computer at $666. Their symbol's the bitten fruit, kind of like Genesis biting the forbidden fruit. And Genesis, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, is also 666 when you multiply it times 6. But just think about it. A rock star from Knights in Satan's service to really push the vaccine in the time of all these mandates, which really started in October. The only month that has gematria 666 is October. It's when you run it in reverse times 6. A lot of mandates. Once again, Gavin Newsom, Mr. 56 himself, who used to be the mayor of San Francisco. He used to be the 42nd mayor of San Francisco. The beast rules for 42 months in Revelation. Vaccine equals 42. Bill Gates, who's Mr. Number of the Beast himself, as we're getting to. The vaccine went live on his 42nd day of his age. His first birthday was on Jonas Salk's 42nd birthday. The same day a rock star was getting the vaccine on live TV, exactly 42 weeks after his birthday, Elvis Presley. In the year 56. Yes, Elvis got the vaccine exactly 42 weeks after his birthday, October 28th, 56, born January 8th. That was Jonas Salk's 42nd birthday, Mr. Polio vaccine. Elvis was getting his vaccine, and Bill Gates, who's now Mr. Vaccine, turned 1 year old that same day. Vaccine 42. Bill Gates operates out of Washington, the 42nd state. Remember, the first confirmed case was in Washington on January 21st, 121, Revelation equals 121, square root 11, the battle of good versus evil, where you learn about 666, where the beast rules for 42 months, and Washington's the 42nd state in order of statehood. That means, there was a first state, Delaware, and then so on, Eventually, Washington was the 42nd state. But here's the thing. Gene Simmons, his birthday is August 25th. 25/8, like 258. And notice, number of the beast equals 258. Bill Gates' full name, William Henry Gates, equals 258. And again, in my book, which I finished August of 2020, very beginning of August, I talk about how Bill Gates established Gavi, his vaccine alliance, July 12th, 99, his 258th day of his age. He did it on July 12th, 12/7, like 127. Bavarian Illuminati equals 127. Order of Illuminati equals 201 and 258, like William Henry Gates equals 201 and 258. But he established his vaccine alliance on his 258th day of his age. 1 month after I finished writing the book, his dad died September 14th, 2020, which was the 258th day of the leap year. And again, William Henry Gates, number of the beast, 258. Now we got Gene Simmons lobbying for the vaccine, born on 25/8, right? And Bill Gates' business partners, Fauci, who's Italian like the Jesuits, who went to Holy Cross, the Jesuit school, who said at Georgetown on January 10th, 2017, 10 days before Trump took office, that the next president will face a pandemic at a meeting on pandemic preparedness. He said it 2 times. He said it at the beginning of his presentation and the end, that the next president would face a pandemic, and he knew that because he'd been at NIH since '84 a long time, and he knew they were due for one. I mean, come on. We're due for pandemics. Funny how the simulation was just in time, the day of the military. By the way, you guys, hold on. I got to go to my Twitter page for a moment. I just found the biggest omission from my first book. I can't believe I didn't realize this until just the other night. And it's because I was watching a documentary. It was like a news special on the lab in Wuhan. And they zoomed all in on the sign of this Wuhan Institute of Virology because they're talking about, the gain of function and the ongoing quarrel with Rand Paul, who's been in a couple 56 rituals, and Anthony Fauci, whose name equals 56. But they zoomed in on this Wuhan Institute of Virology sign when they were talking about it. And I said, you got to be kidding me. Since 1956, and they're saying this might be the lab leak. That's a possibility. If it did, it came from here. I mean, come on, man. All the 56 rituals, and all this time, I didn't realize that this lab that they've talked about so much was established in 56. But Fauci, he's Mr. 95. And as I wrote about in this book, I snuck it in right at the end because it happened in July as I was finishing writing the book. I thought I had it up there, but hold on. I got the link right here. Fauci, he threw out the first pitch last year for the baseball season. We were talking about opening day, first pitch, Anthony Fauci, coronavirus, Society of Jesus, Washington, D.C., where the game was. But it was also on a date with 70 numerology. Coronavirus and COVID vaccine are both 56 and 70 forwards and backwards. Pope has Gematria 56, Vatican 70. The Pope's encyclical about what to do about coronavirus, Fratelli Tutti equals 56, same cipher. But Fauci, he threw out the first pitch, and in this game, Garrett Cole got his 95th career win. He was the starting pitcher, just newly signed by the Yankees. And the day he signed, December 11th, Garrett Cole signed on his 95th day of his age, gets his 95th career win in his debut game with the Yankees, starting out the year 1-0. And again, Fauci threw out the first pitch. And, what you could also point out is New York in Sumerian gematria, we multiply times 6. A is 6, B is 12, C is 18. New York is 666. Yankees Nationals game. And again, you got to think about how many rituals have been done over the years, bringing these numbers together that we've documented. It's been a lot. These are patterns I've been talking about since, I probably clued in on the 66695 thing in 2016, maybe even earlier than that. We've talked about this many times since then, so this is nothing new. And again, on 11/11, number of the beast is the ritual. Beast 11 on 11/11. And Gene Simmons, again, born on 25/A. He's born in 49 as well. Revelation's 49 the small way. Just like Washington's 49. Again, first case in Washington. Again, in the two ciphers that I learned from Manly P. Hall, which was not the reverse. Washington. January 21st. Revelation 121:49. In that same cipher, the 49, Washington's 49. And again, all these 666 rituals along the way. Bill Gates operating out of Washington, right? The first confirmed case of COVID in the world outside of China. Perfect rituals. But here, from his birthday to November 11th, the day of this news, it was 78 days after his birthday, or you could say his 79th day of his age. This is just like how the pandemic was declared March 11th, 2020, 78 days after Fauci's birthday, or his 79th day of his age. Jesuit 78, Society of Jesus 79. And notice he's also 72 years old right now. We've been talking about 72 in the Jesuits a whole lot. Again, there's a whole lot to 72 in the Jesuits. Last Friday was Guy Fawkes Day. Guy Fawkes was a Jesuit who supposedly tried to blow up British Parliament on November 5th. And I believe the year 1506, or was it 1605? It was 1605, yeah. The Jesuits didn't exist in 1506. It was definitely 1605. But notice the event they do for Guy Fawkes that came out of the V for Vendetta movie, the Million Mask March 72, like Jesuit order, like how you wear the Guy Fawkes mask 72. Guy Fawkes died 72 days from his birthday, and he died 72 years after the Jesuits were established in 1534. His ritual was 1605, November 5th, 1605. Hey, you know what I just realized about that? That means he was put to death 87 days after his... Is that right? Yeah, because November 5th leaves 56 days left in the year, and then he was killed January 31st the following year, so 56 plus 31, so he's killed 87 days after his birthday. Interesting. But anyway, killed 72 days from his own birthday. Not to mention his birthday is the 103rd day of the year, and Jesuits equals 103, the plural, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. But again, the Jesuits were created on a 72-date numerology in Paris, which equals 72. They were reinstated by the Pope on the 359th day of the Pope's age, which is the 72nd prime number. And that they were reinstated on 8-7. This number of the beast 80. We haven't even gotten to number of the beast 87, but we're about to get to it. That day can be written 8-7 or 7-8. Jesuit 78, number of the beast 87. Remember, the Knights Templar were accused of worshiping Baphomet, which is now the symbol of the Satanic Church, and the Templar cross is in the Jesuit logo. But again, just 72 comes from Kabbalah, the 72 names of God. The Jesuit order created as an alliance between the Jews and Catholics after the push of the 95 Theses, which again was against the Catholic Church and Talmudic Judaism. But you got the 72 names of God from Kabbalah, and you also have the 72 demons of the Goetia, which was discovered in the 16th century, the same time as the Jesuits. And yeah, they do the Guy Fawkes March, of course, on the day, leaving 56 days left in the year. So, with regards to Event 201 being the coronavirus pandemic simulation, the Jesuit Orders 201, Ignatius of Loyola 201, the founder, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the birth name of the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, Jorge Mario Bergoglio's 201. Look it up. He's the first Jesuit Pope and the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican, known as the Domus Sanctae Martyr, which is 201, and a whole lot more. The Jesuits saved by Catherine the Great with the 201 Jesuits, and a gazillion other rituals. But, John Carroll established the first Jesuit university when he was 54 years old. David Lloyd makes the Guy Fawkes Mass. Jesuit Order 5472 forwards and backwards. First Bilderberg Conference, if you know about those, in 54, put on by a Jesuit. Go figure. But look at this. With all this number of the beast stuff, and 72 being associated with the demons of the Goetia, again, evil, Satan, evil, 666 associated with man and evil. What they emphasized in that phrase, in that title for the article we're looking at, willing to walk among us, unvaccinated is an enemy. That's what they emphasized in the headline. Those words. And when you read about it, it's like, here, let's go back and look at the top. Don't get dizzy. Kiss, Gene Simmons says anyone. Like, why not emphasize starting with anyone? Wouldn't it even sound better? Anyone willing to walk among us unvaccinated is an enemy. Like, doesn't that feel more like what should be emphasized? But this is how I caught on to this, back in 2013 when I learned this. I was like, this is why they emphasize the weird shit that they do. Because I noticed this all the time. I was like, why would you emphasize those words? Willing to walk among us unvaccinated is an enemy. I mean, that's not as impactful as putting anyone in there. Because he's saying anyone who's unvaccinated. But they couldn't emphasize all that because then it wouldn't fit the ritual. And all this shit is ritual, like a national emergency on 911. But willing to walk among us unvaccinated is an enemy, 174. Look at number of the beast. 174 forwards, 258 in reverse. Gene Simmons born on 25/8. Bill Gates' dad dead on the 258th day of the year after he established his vaccine alliance on his 258th day of his age. The FDA fully approved the vaccine 66 days from Bill Gates' 66th birthday. Bill and Melinda got divorced 87 days from his 66th birthday, and they supposedly met in 87, and Bill Gates equals 87, and he supposedly got his vaccine January 22nd, 2021, his 87th day of his age. And then, just showing that this couldn't be any more satanic, the Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator, also equals 122. So does Pope Francis. So does San Francisco, where the Church of Satan was established on the 122nd meridian. But notice how San Francisco's 122.50, alphabetic order numerology forwards. When you do the same thing in reverse, Satanic is 122.50. Gene Simmons, these headlines were out there November 11th, the day leaving 50 days left in the year. Sports. The 49ers once 5-0 in Super Bowls, hosted Super Bowl 50. This year, the Cardinals became 5-0 versus the 49ers and then beat them on the road despite not having their quarterback and best offensive player and became... Well, the Cardinals beat the San Francisco earlier this year and became 5-0 for the season. Then they just beat them last week, 5-0 on the road now after beating San Francisco. If you just pay attention, these number rituals in these cities happen all the time. And again, that's why this knowledge, man, not only does it allow you to see what's really going on, it allows you to take advantage of the rigging. And, just I just said, if you can see what's going to happen in the game before it happens, that has a lot of value. You can make money on that knowledge, as many people have been doing for a long time now who've been paying attention and not being coincidence theorists and dismissing. Again, some people think this is so complicated and hard to understand. To me, this all seems like second grade, and it really is. It's spelling, it's basic addition, it's just taking what they feed you day after day and exposing the ritual of who is behind it. And it should be obvious to everyone that numbers are a big thing in D.C., where the people are that rule over this nation, the land of the Jesuits and the Masons. You got the Masonic House of the Temple at 1733, when Mason equals 17 and Masonry equals 33. And again, for people who think that we need all four ciphers, we don't. I could do almost as good a work if I just had this one cipher right here. Mason 17, Masonry 33. The House of the Temple in D.C., the Masonic headquarters at 1733, with 33 pillars on the outside, each 33 feet tall. Modern Freemasonry was created in the banking district of London, controlled by the Jesuit order. It's a Jesuit creation. The rites for the Scottish Rite were written by Jesuits. And remember, the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite shares the motto Ad Merum Dei Gloriam with the Jesuits, the 32nd degree out of 33, and it makes sense because Scottish is 32, there's 32 sun rays on the Jesuit logo, America's 32, 7/4/1776 has 32 date numerology, the Bavarian Illuminati established, America established, and Kabul, Afghanistan established, all in 1776. Kabul, like the Cabal, This year, Afghanistan fell on the Jesuit birthday. Jesuit rituals all throughout history since the 16th century, conquering the world because they had the military and wealth and resources and the influence to control people, enough people to, forge their will upon the earth. And they've gotten clever with time. I mean, using the entertainers to lead the people astray. Win them over with the music, and then use these musicians who sold their soul. And I mean, how many examples do you need of these musicians who sold their soul in 56? We've been talking about Snoop Dogg. His murder was the case 56 days from his birthday. And then his mom dies right before he's in Super Bowl 56, doing the song, Houdini's song to the Corona commercial in the time of coronavirus after John Fletcher dies at 56. Of Houdini, Friends. John Fletcher equals 56, dead at 56. Next thing you know, his song being used in a Corona commercial with Snoop Dogg, who's going to be in Super Bowl 56. Again, if you've never seen Snoop Dogg's Murder Was the Case, watch that music video. Talks about selling his soul. But yeah, just for a few older slides, again, just Bill Gates. His dad died September 14th, 2020, which was a leap year, the 258th day of the year. William Henry Gates, number of the beast, Vaccine Alliance, established on his 258th day of his age. He's up in Seattle on the 47th parallel, the 122nd meridian, Beast and Satanic 122. Again. With regards to it being on 14/9, something I didn't put in here, 149 is the 35th prime, and Bill is 35, but here, another one that you could add to that list. Satan is 35, and remember, Catholic is 35. Holy See, as they call it, 35. I, 35. The all-seeing eye. The rock star's always doing the one eye. The eye is the sun to the occult. The Jesuit logo's the sun with IHS over it. 32 sun rays. The 3 nails for triclavianism, which equals 93, like how science tells us the sun is 93 million miles away. Or is it? Big number in the Bible. Crucifix, God's Son, Nazareth, 93. The Christian section starts with the 930th chapter. By the way, the 72 thing, since Gene Simmons is 72 right now, the Jesuits are modeled after the Knights Templar, and the Knights Templar, their order was called Latin Rule, which was 72 clauses that you had to follow to be a Knights Templar. And one of those was not sleeping with women, so it just makes you wonder, Catholic Church, Templars, Jesuits, sodomy, how did it all begin? Well, it didn't say we couldn't fuck each other. You know what I mean? So, again, you guys, just the same rituals over and over and over. And if you have this knowledge, you can really understand what's going on. And, again, Gene Simmons at age 72, a night in Satan's service, a totally satanic COVID agenda where over and over they've been coding the same satanic numbers that we've been showing for a year and a half, and the same time we've been censored and struck and suspended and deleted for, again, a lot of the videos that I've put out about, coding the number of the beast on the vaccine have been struck, so the channel's been suspended and even deleted and labeled as medical misinformation. In a video just like this, where I'm not even talking about medical stuff, I'm talking about how these are rituals. And again, if you guys are new here, before any of this happened, COVID, I was saying, back in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, how 2020, 19 years after 9/11 and the 19 hijackers, was going to be a bad year because of the 19-year cycles of the moon, the way history repeats itself in 19s, and because the word chaos is 19, and the motto shared by the Jesuits and Masons as well is order out of chaos, or ordo ab chao, as it's often written, the language of Rome, Latin. But Chaos 19, and that's why there was supposedly 19 hijackers on 9/11, and that's also why COVID-19, that's why it's hilarious. I mean, after all the years of educating about that, it comes true, 2020, the year of the pandemic, but then COVID-19 as well, just to mock your ass. Unless you don't get it, And there seems to be a lot of people in this world that really don't want to get it, including this guy right here. Again, I'm going to reach out to you one more time, Brian. If you are not a grifter, somebody said that that's the true word for you, a grifter. Somebody that's just, always trying to sell shit. Just figuring out a way to sell more shit, But if you're not a grifter, Brian, I mean, how do you explain yourself not sharing this knowledge with your audience and just putting out these videos that are just like, you're just talking about what's trending, you know? There's zero knowledge in Brian's video. His video is about how he loved Kiss. It was one of his favorite bands growing up, and it's so disappointing to see, one of the rock stars that he thought was a rebel against government, is now promoting this. And it's because Brian doesn't get it, man. Brian doesn't understand these people are owned. They sold their soul. They sold their sovereignty over their own life a long time ago to get the fame that they did, and they've been used to, lead people astray ever since. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's the 95 Theses. It's the church controlling the show, dominating the world, leading people into temptation, playing them both ways. I mean, this is the world we live in. So, come on, Brian. Do the right thing. By the way, I believe Do the Right Thing. Let me see the release date of that movie. Do the Right Thing movie release date. Spike Lee, where his name's Mookie and he wears a Jackie Robinson jersey. And then Mookie Betts goes to the Dodgers on 4-2, leads the player protest in the MLB 42 days after his birthday after the staged Kenosha shooting. But yeah, I thought so. Do the Right Thing came out on my birthday. I was born in 83, but if you ever seen Do the Right Thing, he doesn't do the right thing, man. He doesn't do the right thing, and it's not good. And that's the whole problem with this truth community. They're not doing the right thing because none of them are helping share this knowledge. There's nobody who has a big platform that helps share this knowledge. Whenever they bring it up, they take a shot at me. They don't like me. Oh, that guy that thinks he's so much smarter. Oh, I don't like his attitude. It's like, oh my God. Do you not like the passion, the way I work my ass off every day for 8 years straight, bringing nothing but facts that prove itself further and further every day? I mean, I'd say anyone in the truth community who disrespects my name is either a moron or they got to be a shill. I don't think anybody's worked half as hard in the last 8 years to wake people up to what's going on and who's responsible and proving it. And, here, you know what? I didn't even make it into the article. So the 45th anniversary. Look at this, you guys. IHS is the acronym, right? IHS is 45. It's also 36, like 666 is the 36th triangular number. You see the 18 in IHS? It's the IHS over the sun in the Jesuit logo that stands for Isus Hominum Salvator, which equals Knights in Satan's Service, where we began. Notice sun's also 54, like Jesuit order. But IHS is 45, right? And just to write it out in case you forgot, Knights in Satan's Service, what KISS stands for, it's got the 266, like Pope Francis is the first Jesuit Pope, the 266th. And Isus Hominum Salvator is 266. It's also 122, like Pope Francis, like Satanic, like how a lot of Jesuit universities are called the Wolves or Wolf Pack, like wolves in sheep's clothing. But, okay, he's 45 years old, or it's the 45th anniversary of the album, the 45th anniversary. So we just saw that in the article. Where'd the article go? I want to go back and look at this Destroyer album and when it released. Let's go back. Let's do a real-time decode. Destroyer's got the 48 in it, just like Illuminati in that same cipher. Remember what they just did in New Mexico? The huge Illuminati ritual with Alec Baldwin 48 years after Bruce Lee died. Bruce Lee died on the 201st day of the year. Alec Baldwin shot the woman 201 days after his birthday. And you see how New Mexico's 48, just like Illuminati? Illuminati's also 150. Alec Baldwin, the shooting was at 1:50 in the afternoon. Order of Illuminati, what the Illuminati was renamed by Adam Weishaupt is 201 and 93. Alec Baldwin's born on the 93rd day of the year, the same day in history Brandon Lee was buried, who died on the movie set, like how his father died while filming Game of Death, where in the plot he shot on the set of a movie, very similar to how his son died. But Bruce Lee dies on the 201st day of the year. Brandon Lee's buried on the 93rd day of 93, which was Baldwin's 35th birthday. By the way, Brandon Lee's character in The Crow is called Eric. Eric's 35 in the most simple cipher. Remember, we were just talking about Catholics 35, Satan's 35, selling your soul. Saturn equals 93, which is a big number, but Saturn represents Satan to the occult. Anyway, Order of Illuminati, 20193. Alec Baldwin died, what's the other actor's name? there's a million 201 rituals with all the shooters who've died on the sets of films. And we just covered this the other week. We talked about the soundtrack of The Crow. 9 Inch Nails are on there. 9 Inch Nails is how Jesus was crucified. That's Triclavianism, which equals 201 like capital punishment, like Order of Illuminati, like the Jesuit order. And there's another song on there, Golgotha Tenement Blues. And Golgotha's where Jesus was crucified. And again, the whole 93 thing with Brandon Lee and The Crow and the soundtrack, Crucifix 93, God's Son 93, Nazareth 93. And if you use the times 6 cipher, just multiplying the alphabetic order times 6, Christianity is 930, 930, and again, it begins on the Christian Bible. Matthew 1:1, the Christian section begins with the 930th chapter of the Protestant Bible. See how Christianity is 155? So is coronavirus. Remember the first coronavirus simulation, CladeX, 666 days before the pandemic was declared, was 15/5, May 15th. And then Trump, Jesuit educated on the 2-year anniversary, did the Operation Warp Speed plan, May 15, 2020. Jesuit educated, pandemic began 56 years after his Jesuit education began in 64. And I know for all the veterans, I say the same things over and over, but people got to know this stuff, you know. They got to know this stuff. And, but hold on, we're going to go back and look at that Destroyer album. Let's see. Kiss, here, let's see. Kiss discography. How many albums do they got? They got to have a ton of albums. The group was formed in 73. The first album put out in 74 on February 18th. It was the 49th day of the year. 74 is a big number. Just using the alphabetic order, Jesus, Cross, Messiah, Gospel, Parables, all 74. So is English, so is Gematria, so is occult, so is Masonic, so is Jewish. All these things are related. Gematria is a Jewish practice, a Masonic practice, an occult practice. The word Lucifer is also 74. It was the 49th day of the year. And we talked about Revelation 44, the battle of good and evil, knights in Satan's service. See, it was a date with 113 numerology, like coronavirus pandemics 113. Hotter Than Hell was the second album put out on 1022. So they put out 2 albums that year. October 22nd, 1022. Remember, you can lose the 0 in the middle in numerology, so it's 122, Satanic 122, and 74, Lucifer 74. Dressed to Kill, March 19th. That's weird. In Satanic Gematria, Killing's 319. I just made a comment about that in the live stream I did earlier today. I said 319, man. Every year there's something on that date. It's also the 78th day of the year, like Jesuit's 78. Dressed to Kill. Destroyer. So there's the one we wanted to look up. Destroyer came out on the Ides of March, March 15th. That's the 74th day of the year. So they put out 2 albums in 74, and then the album Brought Up. Why did they do that in the article? Why talk about, maybe this, I don't know a lot about, I know a lot of people like Kiss. I never liked Kiss. Their sound just never appealed to me. But I don't know, was this like the album that really put them on the map or something? Why would they bring up in the article that it was the 45-year anniversary of Destroyer and not like, I mean, they could have said it was the 47-year anniversary of their debut. But they went with Destroyer. And again, I mean, just like Utopia, the show that Amazon remade while Bezos was 56 years old, where fertility's 56 and offspring is 56. And it's about, depopulating the world by sterilizing them, contriving a pandemic for TV, scaring people to get them a vaccine that sterilizes them. I mean, that's a show that Amazon remade in 2020 while Bezos was 56. But Destroyer, Ides of March. And it's the 74th day of the year. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Jesuit order is 153, just like Holy Bible is. Miraculous catch of 153 fish. And again, just with that most simple cipher, Jesus, 74, Cross, 74, Messiah, 74, Gospel, 74, Parables, 74. Jesus spoke in parables. The story of Jesus is the gospel. Occult, English. Here's the occult side of English. You didn't know about it. Gematria, killing. How many presidents died on July 4th to start the country? Adams and Jefferson both died on 7/4/1826, and then 1,826 days later on 7/4 Monroe died, who wrote the Monroe Doctrine that was aimed at the influence of Rome. And I think I forgot to say so earlier. Rome, with the most simple cipher, is 51, like Adam Weishaupt's 51. And again, he's the Jesuit who established the Bavarian Illuminati on May 1st. You know, the word federal is 51. You got Roman architecture all over the federal city, including the Roman fasces on the wall of the House of Representatives, which is just, it really is such mockery that that's even there. The root symbolism of fascism, when we all know that D.C. is a city full of, you know, big financial interests paying politicians to do stuff that's not for the betterment of the people, but better for the pocketbooks of the ruling wealthy class. The Rockefeller types who used to rock with Society of Jesus in their logo. Notice Rockefeller. You see how it's 56 and 187? Well, think about how many have been in D.C. 56, 187, 61 just like D.C., but Society of Jesus, of course, is 56, 187. Again, just like Washington, D.C., like Paris, France, where the Jesuits are from. How about Adolf Hitler? You know, talk about a Jesuit plant who supposedly committed suicide at 56, but nobody ever found his body. How about Jesuit plant Anthony Fauci? You know, his name's exactly the same as Washington, D.C. in every cipher. 137, 56, 187, 61. Been the head of D.C. since 84. Jesuit 84. The Jesuit Order 84. The Catholic Church 84. United States of America 84. The first Jesuit Pope 84 years old while all this shit's going on. 84 birth numerology. George Orwell's 1984. But yeah, exact same as Washington, D.C. And it's clever, too, because you see the 137, that's the 33rd prime. And again, Federal's 33, and it's known as the Masonic City, and Masonry's 33, and Secrecy's 33, and the House of the Temple's there with its 33 pillars that are each 33 feet tall at 1733. And, you know, Brian over here is saying it was just a coincidence that, you know, he'd put up a graphic of him at 17 and him 33 years later. And I'm willing to say that that could be a coincidence. That's not enough evidence for me to say that Brian's a Mason. And, you know, most people who are Masons don't deny being Masons. They'll say, yeah, I'm a Mason. This is why I'm a Mason. I like this about Masonry, you know. I don't think that there's any... People will hide if they're in super secret societies like Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones no longer puts out their public roster. They stopped doing that after guys like George W. Bush. And that's probably because too many people are figuring out things in the world. Again, Skull and Bones 41 in the most pure. The 41st president was Mr. Skull and Bones, who ended up dying on 11/30, just like how I said he would not live past 94, and he wouldn't live past November of 2018. Died on 11/30, 11 plus 30, 41. Died on the anniversary of Paul Walker, who starred in The Skulls about Skull and Bones. And you run it in reverse, 76. What are the odds that his son, George W. Bush, who was also president, his birthday is July 6th, and he became number 43. Skull and Bones is at Yale, which is also 43. Jeb Bush was the 43rd governor of Florida. The election came down to Florida, where his brother was. His dad was the 43rd vice president. He became number 43. And Florida's 43. And football's 43. And American football's credited to Walter Camp, who was in Yale, Skull and Bones. And then Tom Brady, Mr. Football, who took over in the time of the Patriot Act while Mr. Skull and Bones was in the White House, goes down to Florida at age 43, like how Bush was down there at the school the day of 9/11 in Florida. Again, all this stuff is not arbitrary. This is all ritual, you know. Everything was ritual about that George W. Bush classroom scene. And if you take the knowledge I just showed you and go back and look at it, your eyes might pop out of your head, literally, you know. So, yeah, Gene Simmons. I mean, you couldn't find a better rock star to promote the old 666 vaccine. And, you know, I got to ask people like Brian, can you guys stop censoring yourselves? Isn't it so pathetic? If you watch Brian, like, he censors every word. He's like, I don't want to get taken down. I mean, if you're censoring yourself and talking in riddle, I mean, you're essentially behaving the exact way they want you to. Here, I didn't even check the Gematria Destroyer. Let's see. Why? Oh, we did. Never mind. It had the Illuminati in it. And the 51. And you know what? Just because this whole thing's satanic, you see the 129, 114, I got to point it out. Synagogue's got the 114, 129 in it. Again, there's a reference in Revelation to the synagogue of Satan. And what's amazing about the way they're referenced, the synagogue of Satan, you see the 223? It's also 79 like Society of Jesus. But notice Philadelphia, because the letter's written to the Church of Philadelphia about the synagogue of Satan. And, for example, Andy Reid, who used to coach in Philadelphia and now coaches the Kansas City Chiefs, he just became the first coach to win 100 games with two different teams, and he got his 223rd all-time win against Philadelphia, his old team. And this stuff goes on in the NFL all the time. Philadelphia is 65 and the most pure. Its birthday is October 27th, the day leaving 65 days left in the year. It's the Church of Philadelphia in the Bible. Notice the 10161. See how church is 61-101? Notice Christian, 10161. Jesus, 61. Cross, 61. In Jewish gematria, God, 61. 61 comes from sacred geometry. The flower of life made out of 61 circles. The symbol that represents God in sacred geometry. And, 61 is the 18th prime if you like baseball. Roger Maris hit 61 home runs in 61. 61 the 18th prime, baseball 18. Anyway, we go on all day, but yeah, how perfect. I really get it now by bringing this up, though. The 45-year anniversary of the album, IHS 45, Jesus Hominum Salvator 266, Knights in Satan's Service 266, and the time of the first Jesuit Pope, the 266th. And I mean, for anyone who'd read this and be like, well, why not since they became a band? Why since Destroyer? While talking about vaccines and how you're evil if you don't get one. The guys that gave us Destroyer. Here, I got to look more at the Destroyer album. How many tracks are on this thing that came out on the Ides of March? I know all about getting destroyed on the Ides of March. 2017, I had every online account I have hacked on that day. Facebook was the first, and Facebook's headquartered on One Hacker Way. Hey, let's not forget that Facebook launched 266 days after Mark Zuckerberg's birthday. Yeah, Jesus Hominum Salvator. And a million more Jesuit things about that guy. Born in 84, Mark Zuckerberg 84, Jesuit. I mean, the list goes on and on. Jesuit Order 144 this year. Facebook went down for its record period on his 144th day of his age. But Ides of March, I got super wrecked on March 15, 2017. And then 2 years later, on March 15, 2019, I had my ebook for sale on 3 websites. One of them was doing really well. It was making me, I thought, man, I might make it yet. I might be able to finally get the funds into this website that I need. It was selling like hotcakes on Etsy. And, they deleted it. They just banned it all the way on the Ides of March. And by the way, 74th day of the year. Etsy is a Jewish-owned company. Jewish happens to be 74. Brooklyn, New York, 74. So many rituals with Larry David and his cousins in 74. Speaking of which, Larry David just had his 11th season of Curb Your Enthusiasm just came out. And here, let me just show you how they did it. Curb Your Enthusiasm Season 11. It debuted. Larry David's 7-2 birthday. 7-2, go figure. He's 74 years old. It debuted 114 days after his 74th birthday. Larry David 114-74. You know what I mean? Synagogue 114, the Synagogue of Satan. I'm surprised that HBO, by the way, HBO is completely Jesuit. Bill Maher's their face, the Catholic Jew, just like the Jesuits. But, Larry David, I'm surprised HBO doesn't rule his show anti-Semitic even though he's Jewish. I mean, it really does seem like the show is made to show like what's wrong with Jewish people, If you've never watched Larry David's Curb Your Enthusiasm, I don't know what else you could take away from it. Larry David's like trying to show how painful it is to be him and just be as Jewish as he is, with money and people and just all the ways he stirs up controversies and problems and his lying problem. Again, that's what it says in Revelation, right? The synagogue of Satan, the Jews who claim to be Jews but are not, but are liars. So, but anyway, I mean, all day, every day with this gang, including banning my book on Gematria 74 all over. And again, I'm not saying all Jewish people or all Catholic people are responsible. I'm just saying that's who the Jesuits are. That's where this knowledge is coming from. Jewish mysticism equals 201 like the Jesuit order. Like State of Israel, like how David Ben-Gurion died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment, like Order of Illuminati 201, and Adam Weishaupt died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. It's funny how that 201's been tragic, even for the own Jesuit agents. What do you think it's going to be for humanity when the coronavirus simulation is Event 201 on the day of the military World Games? And then next thing you know, you got Jesuit-educated Trump 56 years after it all began, telling you Operation Warp Speed to rush out vaccines. Like how in Cladex they rush out vaccines that ultimately do more damage to humanity. By the way, Warp Speed, Pfizer military, all 44. So, yeah, 74, it's a big one. Brooklyn, New York, George Washington, Jesus Christ. As a young child, you're taught to really, really believe and appreciate the great names of Jesus Christ and George Washington and the USA, where the nation's birthday is 7-4. Of course, holiday and Independence Day are also 74. So, anyway. We'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. And, we'll see. We'll see if Brian, we'll see if he has it in him to give his community some real knowledge. I mean, he's proven for going on 2 years that he hasn't, but I figure I shouldn't let him off the hook until he finally does. And the thing is, because he reaches a lot of people. I don't know who else in the truth community is putting out videos every day the way he is and missing the knowledge, that people need to have. So, anyway, that's all for now, Truth Seeker. And until next time.